While the goals of contending are still alive and dependent on the health of Joel Embiid and Paul George, the Philadelphia 76ers have continued their commitment to adding young talent to this organization. While Jared McCain took to the media to speak highly about a couple of these new additions, and on top of that, the leader of the young core in Tyrese Maxey is wilding out on social media right now, trying to figure out how to open or how to use a can opener. I do want to dive into a little bit of each of it. Some fun offseason wrap up that we do got to dive into right here on Sixers Digest today. So to get right into the topic, I do want to start with this headline saying Sixers Jared McCain gives stamp of approval for VJ Edgecombe and Janai Broome. And to dive into exactly what that quote is from McCain is he says, quote, "A plus decision by our front office. VJ and Janai. They're super cool, just getting to know them. I've already hung out with VJ a few times at my place, and we're just trying to get to know each other. Just great energy. I always try and figure out people's energy and how they react to certain things. And it's cool to see somebody who's high energy like that and a good person at heart, which is the best part. Now, obviously, we're going to judge these guys by what they do on a basketball court, and at the end of the day, that is the most important distinguishing quality that all of this is about. But I do think there is value in having these high character type of individuals that are representing the Sixers organization. And I do think that is something that they have been particularly cognizant of in recent years. It is not coincidental that when you run through the track record of past draft picks, from Tyrese Maxey to Jared McCain himself, to Madem Bona, Janai Broome, VJ Edgecombe, these are all high character guys that I do believe slowly and over time begin to change the entire identity of an organization. For a Sixers team, which frankly has sort of been absent of that for close to a decade now, that there's been a much more transactional feel to the way that the roster construction has gone down. That for so long, there has been this premise of we're recycling players, we're trying to improve, we're making trades, that there has not been sort of this just personality of a team that I do think when it clicks and when the quality of talent is there does mean something. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder as a clear example of that as a success story. Not only are they the defending NBA champions with plenty of room to continue growing, but there's a personality, a youthful exuberance in that team that I do think reflects both on and off the floor. I'm not saying the Sixers are directly heading down that path, as obviously the Thunder spent years even getting to this point, but I do think that is something that they are more aware of than has been the case for quite some time. Now, the guy that is the leader in all of this youthful movement here is Tyrese Maxey himself, and he is a little bit smack dab in the middle of these two timelines. Obviously, we have the win now intention centered around Joel Embiid and Paul George as the two stars there, and then there is this sort of next generation headlined by Jared McCain, VJ Edgecombe being a huge part of that. Maxey sort of checks both boxes, and to reflect on what he brought to the table last year, that the 24-year-old across his 37.7 minutes per game averaged 26.3 points, 6.1 assists, 3.3 rebounds, shot 43.7% from the field, did see a dip in his three-point production at 33.7%, but ultimately, I'm 100% confident Tyrese Maxey is going to bounce back, and I think some people, some Sixers fans in particular, are selling short the vision of what this guy can be. He is far from a finished product, and you better believe this dude has been in the gym from start to finish this summer. If we know anything about Tyrese Maxey to this point, that this season had to wear on him as much as anyone, and honestly, we saw it in full force on the court, as while Joel Embiid is sidelined, while Paul George is unable to suit up, it was Maxey bearing the brunt of the load for the large part of this season. Now, Tyrese himself had a little bit of fun on social media today. That I wake up, roll over on my phone, and we already got Tyrese Maxey going live on Instagram. And what was he doing exactly? Not a workout video here, but him asking for advice on how to use a can opener here. And there were a bunch of funny quotes of him talking about, I'm very smart in science and English and school stuff, but you've asked me how to open a can and I cannot do it. And he's talking about growing up, how his mom and grandma used to handle all this. And all he was trying to do here was feed his dogs, get this can open to use. And I will say, not the most assuring visual here to see Tyrese Maxey, the all-star that he is, using a knife trying to pry a can open. Now, I will say this is about as relatable as Tyrese Maxey can be. I cannot personally relate to running 25 miles per hour down a basketball court. I cannot relate to dropping 46 points against the New York Knicks in the NBA playoffs there. But boy, can I relate for having difficulty opening cans. And I did just write an article for Crossing Broad, sort of back in Tyrese Maxey with this overall. And the bottom line is it was a glowing success. He found a way to get the job done. And I think it's cool that he's letting in a little bit of that personality. For Tyrese specifically, who in many ways has been this exuberant light or this bright force when so much of the other organization has sort of been clouded in darkness here. It felt like he lost a little bit of that last year. There was frustration that wore on him over the duration of the season. It's nice to see that personality back on full display and hopefully coming in other outlets outside of figuring out a can opener there. But I do think Tyrese Maxey is the right guy from both a basketball perspective and a human being perspective, a personality perspective, to be the guy that has the quality, has the talent that will earn its respect from day one. And beyond that, he's going to be the positive force, the leader that he's proven to be, checking every single box there, and I'm very excited for what is to come of. And just to pay direct mind to what this young core does look like across the board, that there is Quentin Grimes, who still has that little asterisk next to him as the restricted free agency process continues to drag on, but Quentin Grimes, still just 25 years old. Tyrese Maxey, 24 years old. Adem Bona, 22 years old. Jared McCain, just 21. Justin Edwards, just 21. And VJ Edgecombe, 19 years old. And just to take a look at how far we have come in this process, is it was only 2 seasons ago in which the young core we're speaking about included Tyrese Maxey, KJ Martin, Ricky Council I, Terquavian Smith, and Jaden Springer there. Talk about an upgrade when looking at the night and day difference in the caliber of talent that each of these guys are. There is a bright future for the life beyond Joel Embiid. For so long, it felt like the Sixers were so tied, and they certainly still are in many regards, with the contractual commitment and the injury history looming, and the reality being that there is not a pathway to separating yourself from Joel Embiid. For all these same complaints that we can have here in Philadelphia about the lack of availability, about the injury concerns, you better believe every team in the NBA is aware of those exact same concerns. And when we're having those type of hypothetical discussions of could there be a trade, that ultimately involves the Sixers sending out additional pieces just to get off that contract. I just think that is bad business practice, in particular when looking at the best version of Joel Embiid is so much better than anything you could potentially get back in a trade. And again, I don't think that there's going to be takers jumping out of the woodworks to take a chance on a guy 31 years old with all these knee problems, even with the supreme caliber of talent that he is. But so long in the Joel Embiid era, it felt like that was the end point, that we built towards the process for this all to be it. Well, the process continues on with a young core beyond just Joel himself. That it is not just once Joel Embiid's career is over, the Sixers are in a full-scale rebuild. They've established the future. They've built a foundation of young talent that all has a chance to grow together. And guess what? They will continue to be adding that in moving parts. I know I've made the point with Quentin Grimes quite a bit that yes, it's important to retain him and keep him a key part of this Sixers team, but there's also just as much credence to getting him on a tradable contract and having that as sort of that card you can pull out of your pocket and swap for an attainable player at the trade deadline or whenever the opportunity presents itself. If there is a legitimate forward or a legitimate power forward that makes sense with this core in this team, I do think Grimes could be the expendable one, but these are good problems to have. That you should have too many talented players. That is what you should be looking for as an organization, and I think the Sixers are inching towards that being a bigger problem than not having the available players to actually put a competent team on the floor. There is still a lot of hypothetical with this team, that we need to see it all function together, but I'm liking the vibe change that feels like it is underway within the Sixers organization, and cannot wait to see how that ultimately translates on the court. But let me know what you guys think about all that. I do love Jared McCain getting out there in the media, singing his praise for 2 of his new teammates here. And I think McCain himself could be a guy who takes on a bit of that leadership role. He certainly seems cut from that cloth there. It has been nothing but positive vibes since he's come to Philadelphia for him specifically here. And I do think that is carrying its weight across the board. But let me know what you guys think about all that. And are you just as fired up about this young core as I am? So make sure you're dropping those comments down below. Appreciate each and one of you guys tuning into this video as always. I know it is the dead of the offseason, but we can continue plugging right here on Sixers Digest. So if you have not already, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here. I'll be back. Talk with you next time. Peace.